This video is now in session. I have realized that I have not talked much about the 2022 gubernatorial elections, if I even talked about it at all. So, this map right now, may seem very, sloppy right now, but I'll explain each part of it. So this is just like a map of the United States with each of the states, and each state has one, one count, and that represents a governor, because in the American political system, we have a governor per state that manages that state. So, for the very lightly shaded states, those are states that don't have their governors up for re-election in 2022. Now, I'm using yapms.com to get this map. And right now, they don't have a 2022 gubernatorial map, and that probably makes sense because Virginia and New Jersey, their gubernatorial elections are happening in 2021, so they don't quite know how to, apportion all the states with the counts. But so as a result, I have to use this lightly shaded color. So just ignore these. I only have it lightly shaded so that I can count them up for Republicans, so that Republicans have 27 right now and Democrats have 23. But just ignore that these are here, mainly because these seats are not up for re-election in 2022. And then the rest, you can just think of them as like a normal Senate map where you have different characterizations. So let's start from the West, shall we? So I'm really only going to focus on the swing states, or states that have like Democratic governors in Republican states, or Republican governors in Democratic states. But there is one exception to that, and that is California. California, I think this has the ability to become competitive. And that may sound very weird because California is incredibly liberal, but if we've seen what Gavin Newsom has done over the past 4 years, or more specifically the past year, then a lot of the things that has been under his watch, which may have not been his fault, like the California variant that's popping up in California. Even though that might not be his fault necessarily, he's the governor of California. He's the manager of California. So whatever happens on his watch is his responsibility, and that's just how American politics works. If you have a tragic event that occurs, even if you didn't help cause that, you're probably going to get the blame for that. So that's what I predict will happen with Gavin Newsom in some ways. And another option is that we could see him recalled. So in California, you have an option if you have enough petitions or you have enough votes, then you can get recalled. So Gray Davis was recalled in California because because there were enough people who signed on to recall him, and as a result, Arnold Schwarzenegger was able to win California by pretty wide margins. And California in 2003 was pretty liberal. I mean, actually, it wasn't entirely liberal at that time, but it was pretty liberal. So the fact that a Republican was able to win shows that Republicans aren't out of the blind in California, or at least they still have a chance. And 2022, I expect that the Republicans will pull up a tight fight against Gavin Newsom. So let's go back to the gubernatorial maps now. And here we can see. Okay, I have to type it all the way through. So let's go now to Arizona. I'm gonna skip Nevada mainly because unless if that gets really competitive, then I'm not gonna talk about it that much. But for Alaska, this is Doug Ducey's seat. And if you have heard my Alaska, did I say Alaska? If I said Alaska, I meant Arizona. This is Doug Ducey's seat in Arizona. If you watch my video a few videos ago on Arizona, you'll know that Doug Ducey is very popular among his constituents, but he's not that popular with the Republican Party. So we see that coming through, and he's term limited in 2022, so he's not going to be able to run for another election. That's just how the Arizona law works, and this will be prime targets for Democrats. This seat, besides Georgia, is going to be a prime target, one of the biggest targets Democrats will have. It will definitely be heavily funded. And in fact, right now I have it as tilt Republican, but I could see this rating as going towards tilt Democratic, depending on whoever the Republican candidate is. And it could be a very conservative candidate, which would be a bad idea, as I outlined in that previous video of me talking about how the Alaska Republican Party is going in the wrong direction. But that's a lot. I was about to say Alaska again. Oh gosh, Arizona. I don't know. This is like not the first video that I've confused Arizona and Alaska. And the thing is, they're not even that close to each other. They're several thousand miles apart. Anyway, I could see that as coming till Democratic. I'm gonna just put it as till Republican right now. So let's go through now to Texas. Texas, this is also gonna be a prime seat for Democrats, but not as much as Arizona. Mainly because Greg Abbott is in the seat and he's not term limited yet, so he'll be able to run for re-election. And Greg Abbott is not like Ted Cruz. He's not that conservative. I mean, he is pretty conservative, but he's not ultra conservative, which means that he would be more popular too. Which means that like a 2018 Ted Cruz versus Beto O'Rourke kind of race would not occur. Beto O'Rourke could definitely run for election for the gubernatorial race in Texas, but I don't expect him to win because he's already lost the the Democratic primary, and he's also lost the Senate election in 2018. So, I mean, third time could be the charm, but I don't think he would. I don't think he thinks that he would be the best suited person for a governor's position. Now let's go up north to Kansas. Kansas, this may sound surprising to you that it is currently held by a Democrat in terms of the gubernatorial race, but that is correct. And that's because Chris Kobach, who was the Republican challenger in 2018, he's not that popular among Kansas and among Republicans in general, but he was able to clinch it, and as a result, you had a lot of people from the Republican Party voted for an independent party, and as you can see, Laura Kelly, who is more of a conservative Democrat, she was able to win Kansas. Now, 2022 is going to be really hard for her to keep this seat, mainly because while she does have the incumbency to give her a boost, I honestly don't think, I mean, Chris Kobach really helped her, and he's not going to run for the Republican primary in Kansas again. So I think it's going to go for Republicans. Now let's go for let's actually go to Florida before going to the Rust Bowl. So Florida, this is Ron DeSantis' seat. He was elected in 2018 against Andrew Gillum, and I expect him to win this seat by pretty wide margins in Florida politics. And that's because he's pretty popular with Florida, especially during the COVID pandemic. Even though he botched June to July of COVID-19, he did start to regain his leadership in Florida, and he's also much more moderate than people thought he would have been, so that made him pretty popular. So as a result, I expect him to win there, along with Marco Rubio in the Florida U.S. Senate. For Georgia, this is going to be the race to watch. It's going to most likely be the most funded race out of all of these races, mainly because Stacey Abrams is expected to give another shot at the governor's position in Georgia, and Brian Kemp is not that liked by a lot of Republicans at this point, because Donald Trump berated him for not overturning the elections in Georgia. So he could potentially get primaried, and that would be good or bad for Democrats. It just depends on which candidate is able to primary him and if he even gets primaried at all. But I think this is actually going to be till Democratic, mainly because Stacey Abrams has been able to prove to America how she's able to bring out the vote and get enough votes for Democrats, and I expect her to do the same thing again in 2022. 2018 just wasn't cultivating. 2018 was, I guess, just too early for Stacey Abrams to change, to showcase what she has been doing in Georgia for the past decade. So now let's go to the Rust Belt. Rust Belt, Minnesota, I expect this to go for Democrats by like 5 percentage points because it's Minnesota. It's relatively Democratic. For Wisconsin, this is Tony Eva's seat. He is not term limited, so I think he will be able to win this race, especially because Donald Trump has not criticized Governor Evers that much. In comparison to Michigan, we have Gretchen Whitmer, who is also a Democrat. For this one, Donald Trump really went against Gretchen Whitmer, and yeah, she is really known for standing up against Trump, and as well as that time where she was, where people planned to kidnap her, but I think that a lot of Republicans don't like her. So as a result, I think that Michigan is going to have the same percentage points in terms of a victory for Democrats as Wisconsin. For Pennsylvania, I put this as tilt and not lean because the current Democratic governor, Tom Wolf, is retiring. So, or not retiring, he's term limited, so he can't run for another term according to Pennsylvania law. And as a result, that incumbency boost doesn't really help Democrats here since there's no incumbent. So now let's go up to New England. New England, all three of these seats that I'm highlighting, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, you think these all go for Democrats, right? Except that's not true. They're all Republican governors right now. There's a Republican governor in New Hampshire, Vermont, and Massachusetts, and these are pretty liberal states. Boston is very liberal, as well as the college population in Cambridge and in Harvard. So, yeah, the reason why, though, that Massachusetts currently Republican is because of Charlie Baker. Charlie Baker is one of the most popular governors of Massachusetts in their history. He was able to win by 33 percentage points, I think. Just twice the amount of the Democratic candidate. And this is the same state where Elizabeth Warren has blowout elections, so has Joe Biden and Ed Markey. So, yeah, it's also the state where they refused, pretty much where they refused Republicans in every other state is, race except for the gubernatorial position. I expect the seat to remain likely, though, for Republicans, mainly because Charlie Baker is not term limited. Massachusetts is one of the only few states that doesn't have a law about term limit in governors. Vermont, I expect that Phil Scott, who is currently the incumbent in Vermont, will keep his seat because he is popular. For Chris Sununu, I will have it safe Republican because he's already proven himself that he can get safe margins. But he is very popular among people in New Hampshire. That said, there's a possibility for Chris Sununu to run for the U.S. Senate in New Hampshire in 2022. So in that case, I think the Democrats are actually the favorite to win. I would give them a lean margin. So that's pretty much all of the characterizations that I have currently. Republicans gain one seat in Kansas, and Democrats could gain many. It just depends. Oh, wait, yeah. Republicans gain in Kansas, Democrats gain in Georgia, so it's all evened out. So 27 for Republicans and 22 for Democrats. So that's the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And this video is now adjourned, and I'll see you in the next one.